if you are going to fire over 200 yards and hit somebody in what is a very narrow target at that particular range, then you have to know what you're doing. And you're probably using a hunting or a sniper rifle to do it with telescopic sights. You have to have planned it, you have to have found the right spot to do it, and you have to have deliberately done it and found an escape route straight away, which you already planned. So that is a planned assassination in my book.
It's less than a week from Donald Trump's state visit to the UK, and given the president's capricious nature, there are many ways we can imagine it going wrong, and probably some ways we can't imagine but could still potentially happen. The role of our ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, is absolutely crucial. He's working to make the event go smoothly and in this country's interest. In fact, this morning, Mike Tapp praised him for the work that he's been doing on behalf of the UK in that role. The Conservatives, however, want Lord Mandelson to resign over his links to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Iain Duncan-Smith is the former leader of the Conservative Party, and he joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Morning.
When Lord Mandelson was appointed, you said, I quote, he's a political appointee and political appointees often carry baggage, particularly if they've been out of Parliament and out of government for some time. Were you referencing something specific when you said those words?
Well, there'd been rumours about a lot of his relationships. I was referring back to very poor relationships with people like Dara Praska when he was at the EU, a man that is now sanctioned and frankly corrupting. And he seemed to have been attracted to people of significant wealth. I don't know what this fundamental attraction really is for him, but that's where he's often danced close, I think, too close to the line that demarks politics from over-influence. And so I didn't know very much about this. There were rumours, obviously, about his position. But the question here really on all of this, and it's always been my question right at the beginning, is the Prime Minister's judgment is the critical bit in every bit of this. And it's why would you appoint somebody when it was quite clear, even to somebody like myself, that there were potential issues that were surrounding some of his relationships, particularly the rumours were around Epstein. And my point really is, what was the Prime Minister told? I mean, how was he briefed on this? I can't believe the intelligence services didn't tell him that there was problems and baggage coming down the road with Mandelson. So he chose to use him as his ambassador. He must have known this, and therefore he must have incurred that level of risk. And I just wonder about his judgment in that altogether.
What for your party is the reason, I suppose, the straw that broke the camel's back? Because although there had been reservations expressed about his appointment, your party has now changed its position to he ought not to remain in that role. What for you was the reason that he could no longer continue?
Well, I didn't think he was the right choice anyway, full stop. I thought there were a lot of better people. If you wanted to have a politician, there are plenty of other people, I think, in the Labour Party who didn't have his baggage. He was already, let's think about it. This is a man that's had to be sacked twice from cabinet. As I said earlier on, some of his relationships with very wealthy people became very dodgy, and there were rumours about him with Epstein. And the key issue here is the uncovering of to what degree did he seem to lack judgment in his relationship with Epstein, which is to carry on this relationship regardless of the awful factors of life, when this man became a convicted paedophile who had been involved in trafficking. And I just find that bit, the latest revelation, for example, where he's still emailing or texting Epstein after he's been convicted and heading to jail for the 18-month sentence. He's still talking about how much his friends love him and that he should fight to get a lower sentence. And this is utterly appalling judgment on his part. If you're a politician, you have to have some kind of political antenna that tell you there is a moment when you have to get out of something if you are already in it. And he seems to have lacked that altogether. And then he's quietly let it go on without actually saying to everybody publicly previously that this was the problem. So I think the judgment, of the Prime Minister in this, given that much of this must have been known by our intelligence services, otherwise they're utterly incompetent in the briefings. I mean, I think that's why he has to own up. Was he told about this, and to what degree was he told about the risks around appointing Peter Mandelson? I mean, I think the latest revelation that I saw might have been in the Times, I can't remember, where he's supposed to have tried to get Tony Blair to come and meet Epstein, which made my jaw drop. I mean, at least Tony Blair seems to have had better judgment than the man that had once advised him.
I want to turn to another American story that we've been covering on the programme this morning, which is the death of Charlie Kirk. What is your response to what's happened overnight in America?
I think this was an assassination. I'm not privy to the details of it, but I have to tell you, I know a little bit about this, having been in the army. If you are going to fire over 200 yards and hit somebody in what is a very narrow target at that particular range, then you have to know what you're doing. And you're probably using a hunting or a sniper rifle to do it with telescopic sights. You have to have planned it, you have to have found the right spot to do it, and you have to have deliberately done it and found an escape route straight away, which you already planned. So that is a planned assassination in my book. And I have to say that I think this is a terrible, terrible incident. It's happened too often now recently, particularly in the United States, but it's happening elsewhere. And I have to say that maybe it's time for us to rethink some of the very vitriolic and appalling rhetoric that sometimes we use. But that actually can't be believed because, politics is about rancor and about dispute, and it's about settling it with words and in debate. It's when it goes across into this appalling level of violence that I think this is shocking, really, particularly for those young students who've witnessed something which will stay in their minds for some considerable time, if not forever.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's been raised by parents of children who have seen the footage of that incident this morning with us here on the programme. I want to turn finally to Israel. Are you supportive of the Israeli strike on Doha? It's caused a lot of consternation. Donald Trump has said it does not help to get to the place where America wants with Israel and Gaza. Are you supportive of what Israel chose to do?
Well, there are two rules in all of this. If you're going to do something as risky as that, then you better make it a success. And it's clear that this was not a success, and the result of it, therefore, is in question as much as the reason for doing it. I'm with President Trump on this, I have to say. I think his efforts to try and bring a ceasefire now and to resolve the issues that are going on in Gaza, I think is an important one. I support Israel's right to self-defense. I always have done from the beginning. I think those appalling attacks at the beginning are the cause of much of this terrible, terrible call of death. But I think the important thing here is that, Israel's strongest ally was not consulted, and I have to say this was a poor decision on their part. And
have they crossed a line here, in your view?
Well, I just think there's so many lines drawn in this thing. I don't think you're crossing any single line. I think, yeah, as I say, I fully support Israel's right to self-defense because that is exactly what was the key and is the key here. But I have to say, I think that if you're going to do something like this, you better make it a success. Otherwise, you have two counts of problem. One is that you didn't consult your strongest ally, who is now upset with you and wants this ceasefire. And two, you weren't successful in the strike because you didn't get the leaders, which is what you were after. After all, Qatar, for all its failings, and it has some significant failings in allowing Hamas to headquarter there, is now trying to work with President Trump to get a ceasefire. So. Yeah. That, I think, is the key. But honestly, I say at the end of the day, right to defend themselves, categorically, absolutely. They've been under attack and it's been brutal. Yeah. But I do think they should listen to the leader of the Western world.
Iain Duncan-Smith, many thanks for your time this morning.